Hey, what's up, everyone? Codename Soap here, coming at you today with a trailer breakdown. Something that back at the beginning of Way of the Fallen that was promised. Yeah, it's a trailer breakdown. It's something that I sprinkled some little things into the trailer. There's visual meanings behind stuff that, appeared and happened in the story. And this is just something I wanted to do at one point. I remember mentioning it, and I felt like doing a video today, now that Way of the Fallen is over. I haven't put it in the playlist as of this moment, but once this video goes up, it will say finished, like all the other ones do. So, before we get into the trailer breakdown, a little bit of backstory of sorts. Whenever I started Way of the Fallen, I had said it was going to be my last Skyrim video. What I didn't tell anyone is that basically Way of the Fallen was going to be it for YouTube, at least for Codename Soap. That was going to be it. I was kind of at a place, not like a bad place personally, not at all. Things are great. Things are still great. They're even better than they've ever been because got amazing girlfriend, amazing dog who's being lazy somewhere around here. I got a new job now that I really enjoy. Not to say I didn't enjoy my job at the time, but it was one of those. It ran its course. It wasn't fulfilling anymore, so I got a new one, and it is very gratifying, very fulfilling, and it allows for a very consistent schedule, and a great work environment. But at the time that I started Way of the Fallen, and I even told Jenna this, that, I think this is it for Codename Soap. I think, I don't have any more stories to tell. I have nothing else to give. I'm enjoying, like playing games, but not recording it. And that's where the idea for Hour 1 came up. It's the video, like a project video that I put up at one point, where I was like, hey, new project in the works. What I didn't mention then was that Hour 1 is a brand new channel completely. It's not just like, oh, a new series that's coming to the Codename Soap channel. It was going to basically be like, all right, Codename Soap is done. I'm going to go work on this Hour 1 thing because I like talking about video games. I like playing them, obviously. But now, thanks to Way of the Fallen, I've been inspired again. I know there's not a lot of people who go onto YouTube looking for Skyrim content, which is why I try to at least make things a little bit interesting and create a story, a role play, so to speak, which, isn't everyone's cup of tea. They just either want to see 10 million mods and someone just yelling into a microphone, because that never changes, or they want to, they just don't want to watch Skyrim. So it's like I try to bring a little something different, because I see a lot of people who, they have build videos where they create a character and they give them a backstory, but that's it. There's some great channels that do that. I've gotten a lot of, oh, that's a cool idea for this mod. I will lift that and take that over here and kind of play it on my own. But, I was like, I don't know of a lot. I mean, I know there are, but I don't know of a lot that tell stories, and I like to tell stories. And so through the Way of the Fallen, I was like, this, at least for me, is the best series, the best story, the most cohesive end-to-end that I've done. But whenever it was done, I was like, man, I want to keep going. So, Hour 1, the other channel that I created, the other project, is, I don't even know if I'm going to do it. It just kind of depends on how I feel going down the road. But there is indeed another channel that I've created. It's the Hour 1 stuff. And right now there's only the initial trailer that's out on it that I uploaded on here as well. So there's no reviews or anything like that, because thanks to Way of the Fallen, as I said, I'm kind of reinvigorated to play more Skyrim and to tell another story. And we'll get to that story here after we kind of do a little breakdown of the trailer of Way of the Fallen, because I feel it will transition nicely into what the next story is, or at least what I'm thinking. And then, of course, I'll leave it up to you guys, because you guys are the ones that dictate kind of how things run around here. So anyway, saying all that, let's get to this trailer. So it starts out, boom, boom, you know, those Skyrim drums, this red thing coming crashing to Earth. Whatever could it be? Boom, and then those Deftones guitars kick in. So that red thing crashing to Earth is something that I planted a seed of back in Way of the Executioner episode 17, which we can see. Okay, I guess we can't do that because technically we haven't... Boom, there it was. If you didn't catch it, we'll rewind it back just a smidgen, and I'll see if I can do, yeah, like a frame by frame. I guess we can't do that because technically... And here it comes right there, flying across the screen. Now, at the time, I did a streamy thing that was like, hey, no one caught that. And it's understandable because it's quick. And I know some people just kind of have these videos on in the background, you know, it's just like a, you know, Skyrim's peaceful. I'm not sitting there yelling and I'm telling a story. You know, I get it. It's like what I do with podcasts and stuff like that. So, what that actually meant, and kind of the whole name of Way of the Fallen, and later on when you see the wings and stuff like that, I wanted people to, and some people did, like, oh, is it a fallen angel, you know, that's come down to Earth? And I had mentioned this in that streamy thing where ancient civilizations saw like meteors and comets, stuff like that going across the sky, typically as like a bad omen. I hear a dog. And that was what I was going for, was that's a sign of bad things to come. Not necessarily specifically to Skyrim, which they are, because, you know, the Fallen is building and growing in power, which, you know, some people could view that as it's bad. I said people could view it as bad, Draco. Not dogs. Anyway. So yeah, that's why I put it in there. It's like, oh, that's an omen. Something bad is going to happen. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Way of the Fallen, the red, in this case, the red of Harmony, did die. Something bad happened. She had her fall from grace, but tried to, you know, I tried to tell the story in a cycle of like she started really good and then kind of dabbled in bad and became bad and kind of was like, wait, what have I gotten myself into? Let me redeem myself, only to then be struck down by, again, spoiler alerts if you haven't watched Way of the Fallen, Joey Lumbermouth, the leader of the Fallen. So that's what that means right there. So anyway, we get into it. Okay, so those lyrics, Mindset of a Killer, is basically Ulfric Stormcloak. I know, Draco. The Ulfric Stormcloak. He's shouting just like this dragon right here. He is, as the Imperials see him, you know, he killed the king and, you know, he plunged Skyrim into chaos, as Tullius said. You murdered the High King and plunged Skyrim or Tamriel into chaos, or whatever the line is near the beginning. So, Mindset of a Killer, because Ulfric here is the killer. The whole trilogy is from the viewpoint and the side of the Imperials, even though the Fallen is the splinter cell kind of the Imperials and the Thalmor. So that's what Mindset of a Killer, and why it shows Ulfric there, and why that one shot is him looking over, you know, the map of Skyrim and like plotting and planning to take more control and stuff like that. Okay, so that line is with your gaze you paint the room, which kind of, with your gaze you paint the room. The next line is blood red with tears, and you see the Imperial banners, which we'll get to in a second. But I chose this shot right here. There are 3 statues, the Elohims, that are in the Enclave. I could never remember that name when I was playing the Enclave. So there are 2 in light, 1 in darkness. That is because these 3 symbolize the 3 main characters of the trilogy: the Upfish, the Dumbledore, and the Harmony. The one up front is kind of putting a hand up like stop, because she ultimately is the one that tried to stop this whole thing in, not necessarily a completely direct way, but she disobeyed the orders of the Fallen, even though she was kind of naive to what she was doing. And she is now seen as the dark cloud, the black sheep of the family, if you will. That's what this is. But yeah, Paint the Room Blood Red with Tears is the next one. So yeah, Blood Red with Tears. This is still the whole kind of beginning of this song, at least the way I'm presenting it. Thank you, Draco. Is that it's kind of from the viewpoint of the Imperials. Mindset of a killer, with your gaze, you paint the room blood red with tears, is the whole, that's how the Imperials are seeing Ulfric, because they're crying because the High King is dead. But, Imperials got their red colors. I did touch on this during the actual recording of like Harmony's kind of, when she walks through and she sees these 5 banners, how she's kind of like, huh. She takes a second to reflect on it. And this is a symbol of originally the original plan for Upfish, Joey had was to have 5 members of the Fallen. You're probably thinking 5. So the 5 are the one in the middle, the one running the show, Joey, duh. The left and the right are, Upfish and Dumbledore, and then the 2 on the outsides are Harmony and Altano. Altano, you may remember from the Vigilant mod. Is it Altano? Altano? Yeah. I get him confused name-wise with Ancano sometimes, so it's Altano. Basically the Vigilant who kind of betrayed Harmony. If you recall, near the end of, I forget which episode it is, there's the part where you fight Molag Bal. Again, spoilers. If you haven't watched Way of the Fallen, what are you doing here? There's the part where you talk to him and you get his a diary that the first part of it has been ripped out, and then the rest of it's been burned. That's because that tells the story of him joining the Fallen and how he kind of got put into place. Now, why would basically someone who is kind of this bad guy want to be with the Vigilance of Stendarr? Well, that's because Joey knew that Harmony was with the Vigilance, so he decided to tap a Vigilant for himself. Plus, the whole speech that he gave to Upfish at the end of the Way of the Thief was, "We have infiltrated, everything, at this point." But that was kind of almost like a side project of sorts. Technically, there is a 6th member of the Fallen, and that's the one who during the Way of the Thief that talked to Joe, or not Joey. Jeez, so many names. Talked to Upfish outside of Riften, like he went to sleep one night and then had a conversation like, we've been watching you. But that was more of a messenger who kind of knows what's going on, doesn't have a name. It's not a named character or anything like that. But that's what that is. That's what this symbolizes. Anyway, we get Blood Red with Tears. And then Pour from the Stage. Maybe hard to see. I don't know how well it's going to show up. There are 5 skulls here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is just a juxtaposition. It doesn't necessarily, at least when I made the trailer, it didn't mean that all 5 members of the Fallen were going to die. It's just a juxtaposition. 5 flags, 5 skulls, It could mean they all bring death, which they all, in a way, have. The death of the Empire, or they themselves are going to die. Well, at least 2 of them have. One of them did, but, came back. Obviously, Dumbledore there. Anyway. And there's our first look at harmony. And that's that where the song kind of ramps up that, you know, it's just like, all right, we're ramping up, we're getting ready to go, let's do this. The first shot of Phalos, modal, and the song now changes to "And You Can't Stop Now," row by row or rung by rung, you know, row by row or rung by rung, like of a ladder, almost out, is where the lyrics are going. And then there's "In the Church." And this line is "Covered in black and gold." Covered in black and gold. Black and gold. Whoever could that be? The Thalmor, of course. That was Joey hanging out outside of the Thalmor embassy. You know, just watching, doing his thing. He's been seen in Thalmor robes a couple of times. Namely at the end of Way of the Thief. He has a red mask on covering his face. Talking to Upfish. That's that whole thing. And he basically is telling Upfish the executioner's coming, more or less. But also, this song has a slightly deeper meaning of at least how I was feeling at the time when it comes to doing YouTube. It like kind of the gist of the song is like, and this will sound bad. I think the Deftones wrote it as kind of like, yes, they're fans, but they may not quite appreciate, you know, the lengths of which you go to in order to do what you're doing, to get out there and to perform, to do all this. And that's not what I'm saying about you guys at all. It's just I wasn't quite appreciating myself. I wasn't having as much fun with it as I kind of stated towards the beginning. But And You Can't Stop Now, either row by row or rung by rung, almost out. Like, just struggling. You know, you can't give up. You got to keep going. And there's the ship, of course. And then No One Cares, No One Knows. The No One Cares, basically like, ultimately no one cares what we're doing, being the Fallen in this case, because everyone's so concentrated on the Civil War. No one knows what we're doing because we're this Splinter Cell faction of the Imperials and of the Thalmor. And so no one cares, as in the whole of Skyrim, no one cares what we're doing, not yet anyway, and no one knows, operating in secret. And then of course you get the first shot of that angelic blade doing the backstab. And then this was intentional misdirection. The line is "My gift to the world outside," with a shot of Talos. And there were a couple of you who were like, "Oh, Draco. Is Harmony a daughter of Talos?" I mean, she's Dragonborn. She's got the Dragonborn blood. Of course, Talos was also a Dragonborn as well. This was intentional misdirection on my part. It was never planned. Now, granted, of course, he has the wings on the helmet. So there's a lot of little, you know, things I'm like, all right, I got to throw in a shot of Talos because every trailer I make has a shot of Talos in it. Duh. You know, the whole story from Catface all the way to now, it involves Talos in one way or the other. Some people could say his gift to the world outside is the Stormcloaks because they're trying to, you know, let people worship who they want to worship. But also his gift to the world outside is war because of the Stormcloaks and because of all the things they've done to get where they are. So, you know, there's that, but also misdirection, me trying to plant a little seed like, my gift to the world outside, and it shows Talos and wings and, you know, stuff like that. It's Okay, I'm All Right, is just kind of showing, that's setting up kind of how Harmony would work. If she fell in battle, she would fall with the green flames, resurrect in the Enclave, and then that showed Eric, if I remember his name correctly, basically opening the gateway either to, you know, get your gear and get your grace, or to go back to Skyrim. And speaking of that gateway, this is something I wish I touched on. I kind of started to, but I also at the same time kind of forgot. Where you go to get your gear and get your grace, and why Harmony felt familiar when she went to Sovngarde is because the Enclave is in Sovngarde, is really what it is. So when you walk outside, I found this out when I was testing. If you walk outside and you walk down far enough, like as soon as you start, you can go fight Alduin like right away. He just shows up. He's right there. And you can have that final battle of the game. And I was like, whoa, okay, make a note not to go that direction when recording, because then that gets rid of all this story. Okay, so now open your empty hands. Here comes the fun. Here comes the end. Some of that's, you know, that here comes the fun. Here comes the end. Because I knew going into it, I had a good story to tell, and I was gonna have a lot of fun with it. The role playing, the, you know, speaking what was on Harmony's mind, thing like that. That was the, you know, intention behind that. And also, like I said, I thought this was going to be it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out doing the best I can do. I'm going to go out on top. You know, that was the mindset. Open your empty hands. I mean, see a picture of Heimskir, you know, a visual of Heimskir opening his empty hands because he's in a city where a lot of people just kind of ignore him. You know, he's there spouting off his Talos stuff. But it also gets to that deeper meaning of the song. The Deftones are like, you know, kind of talking to their fans like, open your empty hands, because they're just like, give me more, give me more. They have nothing in their hands and they want, you know, they just want more. And also reflecting back on myself of like, all right, I'm not enjoying myself. So here you go. Here's what I have to give, and hopefully it's something, but, you know, looks like nothing if you want to get all deep with it. So now open your empty hands. Here comes the fun. Here comes the end, and then just some stuff synced up. The final shot, where some people thought that there was going to be multiple characters. You were right, but it was all one story about one individual. So, and then, all right, so there's Harmony. That's the very beginning of the series, is her in the Hall of the Vigilant. Talos, of course, more misdirection. Right there, the man of the hour. That's Joey Lumbermouth. I put his face in the trailer. It was right in front of your faces, and none of you know. I'm just kidding. I covered up because Joey has a very distinct haircut, the kind of almost samurai-esque ponytail that comes up. That's Joey right there. That's why he was there the whole time. But I put him offside because obviously, you know, your eye is drawn towards the torch in the middle. Like, what? And it's kind of dark. So it was intentional, like, okay, who's that? But then not showing his face until the very end, of course. However, I will say there are plenty of other times during the series where Joey's face shows up not covered. A lot of the times where Harmony has those flashes in red is this shot right here of Joey's face. It's just red. And then there is another time during the fight with Harkin, where the first time she pops Harkin with Ariel's bow, when the explosion happens, I put Joey's face in the middle of that explosion as well. It's hard to see, but if you pause it, right, kind of whenever I have it paused, switching inventory, then yeah, you can see his face if you look for it. And then there's Harmony falling from the sky, wings, sword, all her awesomeness, but you can see the green eyes, and when you see her in the Vigilant, she doesn't have the green eyes, which got explained through the series of like, hey, when she takes on this angelic power, her eyes would turn green, and then that went away when she became a vampire. So that's what's going on there. But I knew it was going to be Way of the Fallen, so I knew I needed to have another falling thing to make people think, as you did, that it was a fallen angel. And then the end, here comes the end, because not only was it the end of the trilogy, but I thought it was going to be the end of this whole thing. And then there we go, the reveal, the name, all of that. Another, I wouldn't say interesting tidbit, but a design choice. This background with all the fanciness moving is in all three of the Way of trilogies, which I gotta tell you guys the name. I remember I said I had a name for the trilogy a while back, but I wouldn't say what it is because it may give away some things. This background has been the same for basically all the thumbnails. So Executioner, it was all red. It was just a different font, typeface, what have you. Way of the Thief, it was basically the same, but it was really dark and kind of a bluish color. It was basically the same thing. And then with Harmony, I wanted at first, like this, to have almost like, you know, the light is coming back. And that's because the name of the trilogy is, and if you know your CKY albums, this will sound familiar, Infiltrate, Destroy, Rebuild. That's the name of the trilogy. That's what I planned for it to be. And what I'll do is I'll create a playlist that is every one of these in it. So for you future people out there, if you want to go back and watch and do all of that, you can watch the whole story, start to finish. It's a long story, though. Told over many a year. But yeah, there you go. Way of the Fallen. And then, of course, it goes into the date that it comes out. And there we go. So that is the trailer breakdown that I said I wanted to do. We did it. There we go. Now, going forward. So, the idea, or ideas, I should say, I have going forward, as far as a new story goes. So I've got 2 ideas right now for a Skyrim story. One of them I would be very honest, it'd be rather short, and that is the story of when Joey comes back to Skyrim and realizes, as I said, in the end there, that people he thought were dead were not, you know, and him kind of making his way to get to where he is. So him coming back from being trapped in the back door, the Enclave, so to speak, not quite, you know, in Solstheim, but trapped in that crystal Enclave, basically a giant soul gem is really what that place is. Kind of being trapped in there to coming back to Skyrim, realizing everything's different, and him from that point leading up to the creation of the Fallen is one idea. Honestly, it'd be rather short because we've kind of told his story in a way, and there's a lot of parallels. So the whole Way of the Assassin, which that was intentional to name all of these the Way of, is because Joey was the first, and then these 3 came along with it. Another naming thing, I should say. So it'd be very similar to Way of the Assassin, not identical because there's certain differences between the 2, obviously, but it'd be very similar. The other is to pick up right where Way of the Fallen ends, with Joey walking off, and what happens next, which would be all new stuff. Here's the catch, though. The catch. At this point, Joey is obviously a rather powerful character, and I would want to actually play and get Joey to that level of sorts that he's at, which means I would have to go through, and in order to keep continuity, and this is the tricky part, I would have to go through and do Dark Brotherhood, I would have to do the Thieves Guild, I would have to do Dawnguard as well. I'd have to do all these quests, which everyone's seen already multiple times, but I figured it'd be cool if I just go through and I live stream it on Twitch, just like, hey, we're leading up to the next series, let's just go through, let's have fun. No role playing because, you know, we all know what happens in these quests. It's just, let's build a character together kind of thing to get them to this point. So, and then where the story picks up is when he's walking off after killing Harmony. What happens next? Because there's still a lot going on out there, and I'm sure some people are going to be curious as to why the Dragonborn is dead. Some people who may want to avenge the death of the Dragonborn, you know, there's stuff like that. And then there's the third idea, which is just don't play Skyrim anymore. You old man, you're over the hill. You're no longer funny and entertaining, and your stories are dumb. Why don't you try something new, and let's see what happens? I think Draco agrees. Come here. You're old, too. But yeah, that's the other idea, is that I stop right here. No more Skyrim. But, you know, I just play a different game. You know, something like that. So I'm going to leave that up to all of you who are watching this, all two of you. If you want to see the, you know, Joey's arrival story, let me know. If you want to see what happens with Joey going forward, and then I live stream building that character, let me know that. And if you're like, you dumb idiot, we don't want to see any Skyrim anymore, obviously, let me know. That's it. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to stop rambling. And that's all for now. So for myself, for the noisy, furry dragon right there, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy. I'll see you guys later.